In the charming town of Monterey, a young Mexican boy named Juan began his trip through life. Juan's life was hard, and his parents died when he was young, leaving him in charge of his 4 younger brothers. Their simple, worn-down house was a sign of the hard times they went through. It was filled with happy memories of laughter and love, but it was also worn down and had a roof that leaked, which made it hard to live there when it rained. Every morning, Juan would get up from his thin mattress on the floor before the sun came up. He also made a simple breakfast for his brothers in the cold room. His breath would form foggy clouds. "Juan, are the eggs ready?" Miguel, the youngest boy, would yawn and rub his eyes with his small hands. "Almost, Miguel," Juan responded with a smile. "Sit down and I'll get your food ready." Every day they went to school, did their chores, and Juan worked strange jobs around town. Juan's spirit never broke, no matter how hard things got. He often told his brothers stories of their parents that painted vivid pictures of the love that they had once known. Rosetta Kruger was a girl whose life was very different from Juan's. Her father, Hans Kruger, was a German billionaire who owned many businesses and places all over the world. The Kruger family's summer home in Monterey was a huge house with a view of the beach, where Juan cleaned up after careless tourists for hours every day. With its grand design, large grounds and stunning view of the ocean, the Kruger mansion was truly impressive. Rosetta's days were full of private teachers, fancy meals and high society guests who were often invited by her parents. "Rosetta, my dear, you must wear this dress to the gala tonight," her mother Isabella would say, handing her a gown that sparkled like the moonlight on water. Rosetta would nod to show that she agreed, but her mind often wandered because she was wishing for something. She'd look out at the big ocean and wonder what secrets were out there beyond the horizon. Rosetta was at the beach on a sunny summer day when the sun was shining yellow. She walked along the water's edge, bare feet sinking into the soft sand. The sea breeze made her golden hair move. She had no idea that this normal day would soon change her life in a big way. As she went further into the water, a strong current broke up the calm moment. It grabbed her legs and pulled her in hard and fast. She fought to keep her head above water. She started to feel scared. Her desperate calls for help were drowned out by the crashing waves. "Help! Please, someone help me!" Rosetta screamed, and her voice shook because she was scared. Not far away, Juan saw the chaos. His hands were dirty from picking up trash on the beach. He didn't waste a single second. He dropped the bag and ran as fast as he could towards the water. He knew how dangerous it was, but he couldn't turn away from the need to save her. He yelled to Rosetta, who was getting further away. "Stay calm, I'm on my way." As the waves rolled around Rosetta, fear and desperation filled her eyes. She reached after Juan, who was her only hope at the moment, with a hand that was shaking. When Juan jumped into the rough water, his heart beat fast. The strong wind made each stroke feel like a fight. Just in time, he got to Rosetta and grabbed her arm as she gasped desperately for air. "Hold on," he yelled, trying hard to be heard over the noise of the waves. Rosetta clung to him, her fingers tightly holding his. She knew that her life was depending on it. The waves crashed over them over and over again, making each moment seem to last forever. "Please don't let go," Rosetta begged, her voice shaking. Juan swore, "I won't." As he was sure of it, their fight against the cruel sea had begun, and in the middle of the chaos, 2 souls were making a connection that would change the rest of their lives. The fight against the strong stream kept going on. Juan and Rosetta held on to each other as the waves beat their bodies over and over again. Every stroke towards the shore felt like a huge battle, like they were fighting nature itself. "We're almost there," Juan said through forced breaths. He didn't change his mind, but the power of the ocean was too much for him. Rosetta whispered words of encouragement between breaths as her power began to run out. "Don't worry, Juan, just a little longer." Even though the water hurt their lungs, they kept going. As they tried to get to safety, the world around them became a blur of breaking waves and salt water, and time seemed to slow down. During these hard times, they grew closer to each other. As they struggled to stay alive in the harsh water, they told each other how grateful they were and how sure they were that they would make it. They finally got out of the water, but Rosetta lost consciousness. Someone on the beach called 911 while an officer ran to the scene. Juan did CPR on Rosetta while he was trying to catch his breath. The air was full of tension, and each time he pressed on her chest, he hoped for a miracle. Rosetta's life was in danger. Her face was pale and her eyes were closed. Juan's hands moved carefully as he pressed on her chest and tried to get her to breathe again. At last, she coughed up some seawater and took a shaky breath for the first time since her ordeal started. The lifeguard checked her heartbeat and gave her the thumbs up, while his face showed relief. "She's still breathing," he told Juan. "We need to get her to the hospital, but she's going to be okay." Juan seemed less worried as he watched Rosetta's chest rise and fall with each breath. Their harrowing experience had brought them closer together in a way that words couldn't fully describe. It was a bond that went beyond differences in wealth and power. Rosetta opened her eyes and saw Juan. She said softly, "Thank you for saving my life." Her eyes were filled with tears. Juan smiled warmly as he tried to catch his breath. His dark eyes were filled with relief as he said, "Your gratitude means everything." Then he slipped into the crowd, still holding the trash bag he had been carrying with him the whole time. Rosetta was filled with thanks as she watched him walk away into the crowd. She knew that words couldn't show how much she owed him, so she was determined to find a way to return his brave act of kindness. Hans Kruger was in a panic, and his usually stern face was filled with fear. He promised that no matter what, he would find the young man who had saved his daughter's life. He wouldn't spare any expense. He told his team of investigators, "We have to go find him." Even though Rosetta was safe again, the whole thing had a big impact on her. She was just as determined as her father, knowing that the young man who put everything on the line for her earned all of their thanks. Their search went on for days and nights as they talked to witnesses and followed up on information. Rosetta would never forget Juan's amazing act of kindness, and she was determined to make sure he knew how much it meant to her. After looking for Juan for days, the police finally found him at his primitive home on the edge of Monterey. When they looked, they saw a scene that was both moving and sad. The house was small and in bad shape, but it was filled with love and warmth. Hans Kruger, who was very strong looking in his fancy suit, looked around at the simple place he was in. "Tell me about your family," he said to Juan. Juan made a proud motion towards his younger brothers and sisters. "These are my brothers and sisters," he said with a proud tone in his voice. "I'll take care of them." Hans couldn't help but notice the homemade bunk beds, worn-out blankets and old furniture. It was a big change from the luxury way of life he was used to. Hans Kruger looked at Juan, and his face changed as he did so. He put his hand in his pocket and pulled out a check for $1 million. "This is my way of saying thank you," he said. Juan was shocked and his eyes grew wide. He paused. "I can't take this," he whispered, feeling too grateful to accept it. Hans Kruger did not move. "I understand," he replied. "But please, don't use it for yourself. Get them a nice place to live." In the end, Juan took the check because he knew it could change the life of his family. It was a gift that came from a strong sense of duty, and Juan promised to keep that duty. Juan and his family started looking for a new house with the help of Hans Kruger. They found a beautiful, big house that was great for their needs. Hans was kind enough to give Juan's family a loan, and they moved into his house. When they got the keys to their new house and the check was put into their bank account, they cried tears of joy. As Juan's brothers explored their new house, they were filled with joy. their faces lit up with wonder. The house became a safe place where Juan's brothers and sisters could grow and thrive, and where their dreams could take root. It was a sign of how strangers had given them a new start. As Juan and his family used their new home, they kept in touch with the Krugers. Even though Rosetta and Juan came from different places, their bond kept getting stronger. Hans Kruger was deeply moved by how Juan's family had changed for the better. It made him realize how important kindness and generosity are, and he decided to help people who were less wealthy in a way that would last. Rosetta was also close to Juan and his family. She would never forget how he put everything on the line to save her, and she was determined to find a way to thank him. Juan and his family started to dream bigger as they got used to their new life. They no longer had to worry about money like they had for so long. Juan could finally go to college and follow his dreams. His brothers could also go to better schools. One night, his sister Maria gave him a tight hug, and tears of thanks were in her eyes. She told him, "Juan, we're so lucky to have you." When Juan smiled, he felt warm inside. "No, Maria," he said. "I'm the lucky one to have all of you." The house became a place of happiness and shared goals, showing how strong a family could be after going through hard times together. Over the years, Juan and Rosetta's bond grew stronger and stronger. They often went back to the beach where they first met and talked about their lives and dreams. Rosetta felt like she had a new reason to live. She helped out at the neighborhood animal shelter because it made her feel better to help those in need. Her friendship with Juan was a steady reminder of how important it is to be kind and caring. They would often talk about their hopes and dreams while sitting on the beach and listening to the waves. The relationship had nothing to do with how much money they had or didn't have. This showed that real connections come from the heart. Hans Kruger gave Juan money to help him follow his dreams and become a marine biologist. He decided to work hard to protect the seas, a cause that had become very important to him. His work took him to faraway places where he studied marine life and worked to protect it. Rosetta often went with him on these trips, and together they did a lot to protect the oceans. Because they both cared about the earth, they both pushed for change. They worked hard to protect the ecosystem that was in danger. Once a big problem, the ocean was now their shared passion and purpose. They pledged to do everything they could to ensure its well-being and longevity. To help poor children, after seeing how Juan's effort helped his family, he said he would help as many people as he could. Rosetta, who was now a young woman with a lot of compassion, took part in the events of the foundation. She saw how one kind act could start a chain reaction of good things and change the world. The charitable organization helped children in need all over the world by giving them access to schooling, healthcare, and brighter futures. Juan never stopped studying marine biology, which led to groundbreaking studies. He became known all over the world as an expert in his field and worked hard to protect the waters that had almost killed Rosetta. Juan was on an expedition one night when he found a type of sea creature that he had never seen before. This creature could be used in marine medicine. His achievements brought him praise and awards from all over the world. His success showed how hard work can pay off and how important it is to protect the wild world. The story of Juan and Rosetta showed how amazing things can happen when kindness and care meet problems. It showed that anyone, no matter where they come from, can make a good difference in the world. Hans Kruger's fund kept growing, reaching out to kids from poor families and giving them a chance that they could never have imagined. Their trip together had changed many people's lives and sparked acts of kindness and generosity that would change the world for years to come. Juan and Rosetta's bond stayed strong as time went on. They went back to the beach where they had met for the first time, where the waves told stories of their amazing journey. The impact of that important day lasted showing how strong ties can be, even when they are made in unexpected ways. Their story showed that hope can be found in the worst of times. It showed how strong the human spirit is, and how kindness has a lasting effect. As they stood on the beach and looked out at the vast sea, they knew that their trip was not over. Together, they wanted to change the world by doing nice things for people. The ocean, a quiet witness, carried their hopes and dreams while letting them know it was okay.